Well, you fools. Murder hornets are a real thing. Today on Mystery Cast, I do not live up to my promise of talking about tabloids that are true, because as it would turn out, tabloids aren't true. So, I scoured the internet.
Such a shocking revelation that we finally have arrived at.
I scoured the internet and I could not find a single tabloid that actually turned out to be true. So what I did instead is I just went to find some very interesting, fascinating true stories. And as usual, Listverse has come through for us. So welcome to this episode of the Mystery Cast right here on Tales of Earth, a show that we live stream every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/comicstorian. If you want to support us, you can sub and follow and all those amazing things over at Twitch. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tales of Earth. And if you want to support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/comicstorian. And another form of support, which we appreciate, is you can buy some Tales of Earth merch through the link below. Of course, if you're watching this like on, YouTube and stuff. So all the platforms. Eventually we'll be on Quibi. What's, that new streaming service, Quibi? We should get on Quibi.
I have not heard of that one, actually.
I'm actually better in 10-minute bites, so...
Short
Then
doses.
stay tuned for our TikTok show.
We're going to do some TikTok dances. I won't lie. I have been on TikTok. Mostly because Twitter is incredibly violent towards anyone that disagrees with you. Reddit is all about murder hornets inspiring you. TikTok, at least, people are just having fun dancing. I'm like, you know what? I'll take it.
For now.
Yeah, for now. Then we're going to get the murder hornet challenge. How long can you last outside with a murder hornet?
No, the murder hornet challenge is you have to try to lick a murder hornet and not die.
Sounds like a terrible challenge. But you do it in support of some cause, right?
Yeah,
well, obviously.
No, it's just like there was like a toilet seat challenge where there were some influencers that licked toilet seats, like public toilet seat, and it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And one of the guys got COVID-19, and everyone's like, well, no, duh.
Well, yeah, you're licking toilet seats.
If anything, you got kind of lucky that was the only thing you got.
Man, I just want to make a difference in the world. I'm going to lick toilet seats. All right, so today we have 10 mind-bending UFO encounters from South Africa. Why South Africa? Well, why talk about the U.S.? Why talk about any country? So these are some fascinating stories from South Africa. And I did read some of these, and I did preview the list, and these are really kind of creepy. So number 10, the Mendel incident. Not Mandalore.
I love that series.
Yes, the Mendel incident.
It's the smaller version.
Yeah.
My wife actually had an amazing idea. So when people were talking about The Mandalorian, she's not a Star Wars fan. She didn't know what people were talking
dead
about.
To me.
So she actually asked me. She actually stopped me. She's like, please don't make fun of me for this. She said, so this show, The Mandalorian, everybody's talking about, is it about the guy who made the Mandalorian car? And I said, no, but that's brilliant. There should be a documentary series called The Man DeLorean.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That is amazing.
So,
just so we're clear, me and your wife are not friends, but if we were friends, we're not friends anymore.
We're not friends anymore. Okay, good to know. But I think she's secretly sitting on top of a gold mine there. All right, so the Mendel incident. Just before midnight on January 3rd, 1979, Megan Quessit was about to make a cup of tea to help her 12-year-old son, Andre, to sleep. As she made her way toward the kitchen, she heard the family dog, Cheeky, barking excitedly outside. As she opened the door to see what the matter was, she caught sight of Cheeky heading out of the garden up the road toward a new and unlit Link Road. Asking Andre to come with her, they followed their dog, worried that his barks would annoy the neighbors. As they arrived at the Link Road, each could see a glowing pink light. As they went closer, could see that this light was encasing a gray metallic craft that was descending. As it settled on the ground, 4, quote, spider-like legs stretched out and touched the ground, supporting the weight of the egg-shaped object. 6 humanoids emerged from the craft and inspected the surroundings. 2 of them noticed Megan and Andre walking over and greeting them in a language unknown to the pair. Although she initially felt no fear, Megan suddenly had an uneasy feeling come over her. She began to back away when, in what seemed like less than a second, all of the crew were suddenly back inside the craft, and the door from which they had emerged was closing. A buzzing noise like a hive of bees. This is probably where the murder bees.
Oh God, is this where they came from?
Yep, sounded out before the craft shot into the air, becoming nothing more than a distant pink light in a matter of seconds. Megan would report the incident the following day, and investigators found a corroborating account from an unnamed husband and wife who were driving along a nearby road at the same time when they saw an oval-shaped craft with legs. So the sudden re-entry of the humanoid figures into the ship really conjured a funny image for me. I would love to see an extraterrestrial step out of a ship, and then upon seeing like humans, just like yell out the F word and run back in.
Oh crap!
Like, oh.
They're just like, oh crap! They're still here. The murder hornets haven't worked yet.
They haven't worked yet.
Oh my goodness!
Didn't we send down like some viruses and murder hornets to take care of these things?
Well, Fred missed with the asteroid, so.
Oh man, who let Fred drive the asteroid?
Okay, that's for the record.
Yes,
that seems very significant for us to have not heard it on some of our other UFO stories.
Right. Well,
it's true. I feel like we would have hit this one already.
True. Now, the number of UFO stories is pretty much endless, but also I think a lot of our lists tend to favor like North America.
That's true. Yeah,
like Western Europe, which is why I was really intrigued by this story, because like just because it's not pertinent to our geography, doesn't mean they're not fascinating or true or anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if they can fly in space, they can definitely move to a different continent. If something ever happened, it's just like if that was actual aliens. Because I like that this one's in 1979, though. Like, this is a lot more recent of a sighting. Because a lot of the ones we got before were, I want to say, like in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah. Well, back in 1954 on a farm in the middle of Wyoming.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff, yeah.
Like, the fact that there was also an complete unrelated party that saw it as well. I like this one. This one's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. And it doesn't sound like this mother and son had any reason to make up a story like this. Like, why would you make something like that up? And it's very interesting that her description is that she didn't feel any fear, and then the moment she felt any kind of uneasiness, they were basically gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's a memory erase kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. All right, number 9, The Smoking Man in White. And I'm not the only person who has thought of the X-Files, I'm sure, in reading that. What is surely one of the most bizarre encounters in UFO history occurred in Roosboom early in the morning on August 21st, 1972, when Doris Motwa and her 12-year-old daughter made a report of a strange sighting. As they were drawing water from the river, Doris noticed what looked like a man in a white suit who was smoking a cigarette. As she looked a little longer, she noticed a strange blue-pink light. Again, another pink light, coming out of the man's chest. Furthermore, the smoke grew and grew until it was like a big fire. Both amazed by the scene unfolding before them, the mother and daughter watched as the figure then began to rise from the ground. Doris would later estimate the man to be around 335 centimeters or 11 feet tall, and after steadily hovering above the ground, he shot into the sky, vanishing in an instant. The pair reported feeling a sensation akin to receiving an electric shock run throughout their bodies during the encounter, leading investigators to suggest some kind of electronic wave technology. Interestingly, less than a week previously, on August 16th, in the same area, Elias Kosha reported seeing a monster with small flames burning around his feet. It too would speed away in a flash of flames and smoke.
That's...
Yeah.
That sounds like that sounds like what we were talking about earlier. Of an alien showed up, it was like, oh crap, they're still here. See ya, and then just runs off.
I've been spotted. I'm out.
Get the hell out of here. That's, these are cool. These ones sound a lot. I mean, as ironic, it sounds a lot more realistic or interesting than these other ones.
You know, in generally like North America, the best UFO stories we have are like, I saw a light.
Right.
I done did was abducted by the aliens. And Sorry.
Like that farmer who claimed that they forced him to like mate or something.
Yeah, something like that.
They needed me for my sexual prowess.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So 8, abduction by telepathic robots.
Again, now we're getting into the kind that we see in North America.
Yes. In late 1972, man, these stories. A woman who preferred to withhold her name was subject to a bizarre abduction experience. While lying on her bed one evening, she suddenly heard what sounded like a low-flying helicopter outside her home. As the sound persisted, she began to feel a rattle around the house before a whirlwind sensation enveloped her. In a moment, and with no memory of how she got there, she found herself in a strange room with several robotic-looking beings surrounding her. They were performing various tests and examinations, and all the while they spoke to her using telepathy. She didn't understand the nature of the tests, but she experienced no pain during them and was not frightened at any stage. She was returned to her room shortly after. Perhaps more bizarre, and certainly something to provide ammunition for skeptics, were the subsequent claims she would make of one of the robot aliens visiting her again shortly after, claiming they had left a piece of equipment in her leg.
Oh, it's our bad. Our bad. We actually left the Flusoflarg in your leg. Apparently, the aliens are from Dr. Seuss in my mind.
Yes.
The Flusoflarg. That's the English interpretation.
Yeah, I left the Glorpin tweezers in her.
I dropped it. And I forgot to grab it on the way out. We were having such a good telepathic conversation.
Well, it seems like something. There's a theme here that unites humanity and extraterrestrials, and that is leaving foreign elements in a person after surgery, which
happens all the time.
A real thing that happens. They do it too, so we got some common ground. What I really find.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
What I was going to say is what I find interesting. This is a really interesting concept because if they are robotics, very advanced AI of some kind, then it would make sense that a super advanced alien race would actually send AI robots to the Earth to run experiments and to kind of do the dirty work for them.
Right, instead of going themselves.
Right, instead of going themselves. And if they're sufficiently advanced enough, they probably could figure out a way to communicate telepathically and not always verbally. And they'd find a way to manipulate your brain in a way that makes you not afraid. You know, and so because I can imagine if you're thinking clearly, being abducted by artificial intelligence is probably not a very comforting experience.
Right. So, probably have some sort of pheromones or something like that to entice. But no, first off, when the AI, it reminds me of the AI robot from the robotic race from the Orville.
Yes.
Like this one reminds me very much of those, especially in the way that they drew them. But these ones are so the people left their house and they went somewhere and they saw something, and then other people saw it as well. Those ones I look at and I'm like, on the believable scale, this is more towards the believable. The ones where people get abducted in at night while they were asleep, so much I'm like, okay, was this a dream, a sleep paralysis thing where you were imagining this? The at-home ones are a lot more skeptical because there is no proof, and people have very creative imaginations.
Well, sure. And there's actually a new theory. I don't know how new it is. It's new to me. That suggests that these kind of sleep paralysis at-home abduction stories are actually your brain accessing your earliest memories of childbirth. Basically,
I could
when
see
you're
that.
at that age, so these highly suppressed memories are basically, your memories are going to be based on your perception at the time.
Yeah.
And so when you're being born, all you know is I can't move. I'm there's
people
this bright
with
light.
masks.
Right. Yeah. They're poking and prodding me. I don't know what's going on. And then you wake up from it. So that's one theory, is that you're actually accessing those incredibly repressed memories. And not everybody necessarily has those repressed memories. So that's one. Yeah, that's one theory.
That's interesting. I like that because that sounds actually very possible, especially with the way that people describe them as on a surrounding them, looking down, and like if you imagine newborn babies in the nursery, people surround them and look down upon them, and that's actually really cool.
And as a baby, you don't know what humans look like.
Yeah.
So they're these strange,
like your eyes aren't fully developed.
Big
like
heads.
It's just blurry and.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating theory, and I think it carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But you're right, Dan. When you have multiple eyewitnesses who are not communicating, corroborating the same story to the police, then I think you have something, definitely. All right, number 7, Rosemead Junior School incident. As he was driving along a quiet road in the equally quiet and small town of Rosemead on the evening of November 12th, 1972, again,
all of these are in
Harold
the 70s.
Truder noticed...
apparently aliens were real big in the 70s.
That's actually the real reason drugs was very popular in the 70s.
No.
Where people were like, oh, God, not the aliens again.
Again?
At least it's not the murder hornets.
True. You know, in the future, the murder hornets are going to be a part of our weather forecasts.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
And make sure you got your blinds
partly
closed.
cloudy with small packs of murder hornets moving along.
Their eastern migration has occurred, and
in
the Midwest.
But so has their north, south, and east migration. So.
Yeah, we're all screwed.
Basically. All right, let's see here. Harold Truder noticed a strange green glow over the tennis courts of Rosemead Junior School, of which he was principal. He headed toward the complex and pulled his car up to the school gates. He ventured into the grounds on foot. The lights were still visible, but there was a thick, unusual silence settled over the area. Truder at least expected to hear some kind of engine noise cutting through the night air. He did begin to pick up the scent of burned oil. However, a smell that grew stronger the nearer he got to the tennis courts. As he peered through the chain-link fence, the green light now faded somewhat. He was shocked to see the asphalt burned and cracked. There was even a pool of molten tar, which reflected the moonlight. Also present were several strange holes, as if something heavy had been resting on the asphalt when it sank slightly as it melted. Truder would contact the local police, who would arrive to take an official report and a statement from the principal. An explanation was never forthcoming from the police, but they did inform Truder, while taking his statement, that several other UFO sightings had been reported by Rosemead residents that evening.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I won't lie. That one sounds more like a bunch of kids testing out fireworks and then it going a little out of control and people being like, "Oh crap," and then just running away.
I mean, what fireworks could melt tar though?
Yes,
a
and
malfunctioning.
not make a sound.
Oh. I didn't see them not making a sound.
There was no sound. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I understand if there was an explosion or something like that, but yeah.
Because if it was a firework that never shot into the sky and exploded on the ground, I could see that melting because there's gunpowder.
That wouldn't melt. That wouldn't be enough to. It would probably crack it. Maybe if it was powerful enough, it wouldn't be enough to melt it. No explosions. Even firecrackers aren't that hot.
Not even the Roman candles, if it was held upside down.
There's no way they would be hot enough to burn tar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
That's
in
the multiple residents.
Some of these small details that
the multiple residents that evening, that part definitely raises an eyebrow.
Yeah. And what I find fascinating are some of these small details in these stories that may or may not make sense given the kind of technology we're talking about. He said that there was a strange silence. There's nothing saying that an alien technology couldn't have one of those side effects. When the engine is running, because it works in such a way that it actually disrupts sound or something of that sort. Because
or it's a hybrid.
Alien.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah, or a hybrid. It was just silent. He turned it on. I didn't even hear anything. Yeah, I'm just saying, with
spaceship is a Prius.
It's too silent. Like the deadly Prius.
Sorry. Right.
Sorry. Go ahead. What? It's from Futurama. Actually, that works so well because it's when they're in the hive of murder bees, and they go, nice. It's silent, and he's like, yes, like the deadly Prius. Oh no, we're gonna get murder Priuses after the Hornets.
After the Hornets. Yep. what is the name of the animator and director for Simpsons? Matt Groening is someday going to come out and tell us that he actually is from the future and has been warning us.
Just literally just trying to warn everyone.
Oh God!
All right, number 6, the Peter and Francis McNorman abduction. In May 1974, all these are from the early 70s. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like this author just looked at a list of stories from the 70s.
Don't worry, the next one definitely isn't from 1970s.
In May 1974, married couple Peter and Francis McNorman would set off on their journey from Salisbury, Rhodesia, now Harar, Zimbabwe, to Bait Bridge at the border with South Africa. They would drive through the night with parts of the road being twisty and hard to navigate. It was around 2:30 a.m. when Francis, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, noticed a strange light behind them. She informed her husband, who saw it too. It began to come closer, and soon it was level with them on their left and moved alongside for some time. There are a lot of stories where strange alien craft move alongside a car. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Or cryptids, like Mothman.
Or cryptids, yes, just running along the side of the car.
Yeah.
Peter, suddenly realizing he was traveling in excess of 145 kilometers per hour or 90 miles per hour, eased his foot off the gas. The car, however, I can imagine it's pretty easy to speed unknowingly when a UFO is trying to race you.
100%.
I mean, you don't realize how fast you're driving.
How do you explain that to the cop who pulled you over, though?
Right.
Well, officer,
Exactly.
I would not normally be speeding. However, a UFO was racing me, and I didn't want to seem like a bitch.
I had to assert
That
my
would be
dominance.
your explanation, Andy.
Andy would be like, you know what? I wanted to make sure they knew who was in charge, so I had to rev the engine and just shoot
a couple times.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yes, because a sedan from the 1970s is going to outpace a spaceship. Yeah.
Well, you don't know
I know.
what kind of speed it has.
It
The
may be a
car, however,
DeLorean, and it started going 88 miles, and then time travel before the UFO. I mean, you never know. That's why they lost track of time. Sorry.
The car, however, continued at the same speed. He tried the brake and nothing happened. That's terrifying. He wasn't in control of the vehicle. The next thing they knew, they were approaching the South African border. As they had their details checked, they noticed the clocks at the border read 8:30 a.m. Each checked the car clock as well as their watches, which clearly read 7:30 a.m. As well as this apparent missing hour, neither had a clear memory of the journey home, and what little they could recall was of driving on a long, straight road. Remember that the route was full of twisting roads. Even stranger was that their vehicle still had a full tank of gas despite their apparent 320 plus kilometers or 200 plus mile journey. Strangest of all, however, were the 4 brand new tires which neither recalled purchasing or fitting. What?
So the aliens were like, what you got to do is you got to rotate these tires, otherwise you're going to get terrible gas mileage.
Basically, it's their own roadside assistance, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Or they borrowed the car, and they're like, well, when you got to give something back to somebody in better condition than you found it.
Yeah. So
top
your
off the
tires
gas.
for it, give it a full tank of gas. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Peter would eventually undergo hypnotic regression, and the revelations were as intriguing as they were outlandish. Shortly after the light appeared, a large-headed alien beamed into the back seat of the car, because that wouldn't cause an accident.
He's like, what's up? How you doing?
Yo.
I need directions.
Listen, we're a little lost. What planet are we on?
The vehicle was caught in a strange tractor beam and was lifted from the ground and landed inside a huge ship above. Peter was taken to a sick bay where he was examined for several moments. Even stranger, he claimed to see his wife and other people on board, although they appeared to be in a trance. Incidentally, he caught sight of his vehicle parked in between 2 smaller discs with 4 aliens performing repairs on the engine.
Why would they be repairing his car? I don't know.
Because they put in listening devices.
Yeah,
maybe.
Not only repairing the car, but it seems like they're getting like a medical checkup.
Right.
So they're just
it's sort of like intergalactic AAA.
yeah.
And they just got the wrong
but also
planet.
does medical.
They got the
Also
wrong
does
planet.
medical.
There's a guy still broken down on Mars.
Just pissed off.
They got the wrong planet. Oh man, that is one of the most interesting stories on abduction I've ever heard. All right. Number 5, HeartShaped Craft over Pretoria. In late July 2010, finally, on 2 successive nights, multiple residents in the Boysons area of Pretoria witnessed strange lights hanging in the skies above them for several hours at a time. One witness, Angela van der Spuy, witnessed both of the sightings and stated to the media that she couldn't make out the shape of the object because the 3 lights were too bright, but that it appeared to have a heart shape. The lights of the UFO were a variety of colors, including orange, pink, blue, and emerald green, while a big white light on the underside of the object shone directly downward to the ground. A neighbor of Van der Spuy attempted to view the craft through his binoculars, but like Angela, he would state that the lights were too bright to make out any details, but the object had a very definite shape. On each occasion, the object would hover in the air motionless for over 2 hours and then proceed to calmly head away from the city, disappearing over the horizon. Even the times of its appearance and departure were the same on each evening. The object would arrive around 6:30 p.m. and leave the area a little after 8:30 p.m. They really like half hours.
Right.
Incidentally, authorities contacted both South African Air Force and the Johannesburg Planetarium in an attempt to shed a little light on the strange sightings. Neither, however, could offer any corroborating data or an explanation.
That one, considering how recent, sounds like it could be a initial test of a drone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Like being
definitely.
in 2010.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I actually remember, I think there are many governments in the world who are working on top secret aircraft. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if you can, do it. And there are all kinds of strange technologies that seem futuristic to us that are in development. You know, there are even technologies that they've actually declassified, or at least technologies that are just common knowledge to the public. Like cloaking devices are now common knowledge to the public. There's a way to bend light through fiber optics to create like a cloak sheet of some kind. You know, we also know of like Vanta Black that absorbs, 99.98% of light. And there are all kinds of technologies that are just so wild and so out there that we know of. I can't even imagine what's actually been developed in secret.
Right.
And so, there's nothing saying that, these aren't just government craft of some kind.
Yeah.
Being tested. Because I actually remember driving down the highway. I got off the exit off of I-25 here in Colorado, and I looked up, and there's a normal helicopter, but it kept switching between tan and black. Like the entire color of the helicopter kept switching, just tan, black, tan, black, tan, black. And I thought, okay, there were no clouds, so it wasn't like shadow being cast by a cloud. And it just, I just kept watching this thing, and it just kept going tan, black, the whole helicopter. And I just thought it was so strange. And so I asked my brother about it, who was in the military for a long time. I said, is there any chance at all that you even heard of this kind of technology? This color shifting paint or whatever. And he had no idea. But I mean, I've seen some pretty strange things with my own eyes too. So
and that kind of thing like could also be explained with like those images where you look from one side and it's one thing, and then it like you go to the other side and it's a different thing. Because that would all like imagine that kind of camouflage. If multiple people saw it as black and a different one as tan, you may call it in as multiple vehicles where it's more of a strategy to send just one thing in and have a diversion for people to like chase a ghost kind of thing.
Yeah, basically.
But still very interesting. Yeah. And someone else is like, I saw a tan one. And they're like, oh, that's weird.
And then the internet argues about it for 8 weeks.
And they're like,
definitely.
It's white and yellow. No, it's blue and black.
It's all,
Do you remember that dress?
All just to distract.
That's what that's what I'm talking about.
If you actually upload those images to a color checking website that can actually give you the objective color of the image, you can destroy those arguments. Yeah.
What is it? Do you know?
I think it was blue and black, actually.
It was? Wow.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there are programs that will tell you the actual color.
Right.
And it's funny because when it gives you like the little swatches of color with the code, it doesn't match the image I see. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
All right. So number 4, triangular craft over Pretoria. Almost 20 years earlier, on April 7th, 1991, came a sighting of a triangular craft, again in Pretoria, this time in the, Baviaanspoort region of the city. The event was witnessed early in the evening by an entire family. I like that we actually have a photo of this. The object, which featured white star-like lights on each extremity, as well as a red light in the middle, hung silently overhead. Sightings of a similar craft were reported on consecutive evenings on April 8th and 9th in the nearby township of Ustrust. What is particularly... what's that?
I said totally, yeah. Right.
What is particularly Ustrust. What is particularly interesting about these sightings is how much they resemble sightings of similar UFOs. Example pictured above. Oh, that's an example. Over Belgium and the previous year. Famously known as the Belgian UFO wave, the encounters over Belgium featured some of the most intense investigating in recent times, as well as unprecedented cooperation from the Belgian government and military.
Interesting. Why would they be so cooperative? It sounds
they're just as worried as the citizens are.
Either that, or they're the classic. It's kind of like Dexter, where he was working with the cops and would steer them away from himself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But that would be very unsettling to approach some high-ranking official in the government and tell them you saw a UFO and then watch them freak out.
Right. They're like, oh, let's deal with that right now. Let's.
I'm calling the army. What?
Oh no!
Being near the previous one though, it sounds like it could be a evolution of the triangular craft, of a more sharp object to go aerodynamic, curve the edges, and people could potentially see it as heart-shaped, considering it was 20 years prior. Is it almost?
You mean as
couple
like
months
you
away.
mean as like a top secret government?
Like related to the previous one. The one in 2010, the heart-shaped craft.
Yes.
Because it was in the same area, or same area. But still,
Number 3, radar confirms UFO presence. Another report of a strange glowing craft over Pretoria comes from August 28th, 1996. And on this occasion, radar operators in Johannesburg would confirm the anomaly. The initial sighting was made by police officer Sergeant Johan Becker, who stated he saw a light floating in the air over the Adrian Block police station. Upon closer inspection with a colleague, they realized they were looking at something from another world. According to Becker, the object was distinctly disc-shaped with a red triangular light, which glowed slightly. The object remained overhead for about 90 minutes. That is a long time.
Oh, yeah.
During which the time Becker authorized a police helicopter to take off and investigate. Fred Vioen was the pilot. He would tell the media following the incident that he first thought the whole thing was a joke, but as he came upon the glowing disc, he realized this was something he had never experienced before. The craft suddenly moved off as the helicopter approached, and although Vioen would attempt to give chase, I shall give chase to this object.
No big deal. I'll just give chase.
It was once again, they're like, I can go faster.
I can go faster. Every time we go down there, these humans just want to race us. The object was too fast, and the helicopter, despite going full speed, struggled to keep up. Eventually, they were forced to return to base due to low fuel levels. Wow. So he chased it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are absolutely fascinating.
Interesting.
But I can imagine being one of these police officers and sending out a helicopter and,
right.
I don't know what honestly, I don't know what I'd do.
I bet that guy was probably like, okay, we'll send in a helicopter. Please find something. I don't want to be that guy known as sending in a helicopter to find a UFO.
Exactly. When there's nothing. It's a street light.
Bad.
It's a weather balloon. Crap.
I was standing.
This time it really was a weather balloon.
I was just standing there staring at this light, and it was just there. It didn't move or blink at all. Turns out it was a street light. Oh no.
Oh goodness.
But But yeah, I can imagine like the whole time he's hoping, like, please be something, please be something, please be something.
Please don't be a hoax. Please don't be a hoax. Please don't be a hoax. Oh my God.
All right. Number 2, UFO spotted over Socialburg. The evening of November 18th, 1993 was a very strange one for the residents of Socialburg. As multiple witnesses looked on in awe, a water droplet-shaped craft...
Sorry.
headed... No, that's what they say when they see the heart-shaped
that's
right, yeah.
UFO. Aww, they love us. As they send down murder hornets. As multiple witnesses looked down in awe, a water droplet shaped craft headed in the town's direction. It would hover overhead for several moments before suddenly vanishing in a great flash of light. They should give chase. Before people could gather their thoughts, only minutes later, the same object was back overhead. This time, it appeared to change both shape to a cigar shape and color from yellow to orange and back. Before returning to its original form and hanging motionless in the sky once again, stranger still, a blue beam would project directly downward and then cut out without incident. Once more, in a sudden flash, the object vanished from sight. They were probably retrieving a surgical instrument from somebody's leg.
Probably.
They had accidentally
Man, we left that in there again. Not good at this sort of thing.
Just not good at it.
We really need to take Jim out of the surgery room.
So intergalactic travel, we're awesome. Roadside assistance, got it. Surgery,
good.
No.
Yeah.
Our medical care still needs some work.
We could create sentient telepathic AI robots, but we can't remember to take out the scalpel after performing surgery.
And why we're still using scalpels, I don't know.
We can fly through space, but we really need sharp metal for everything else.
For surgery. 2 months later, strange imprints were found on farmland in a nearby town. Although it is only speculation, it was noted this could have been a landing spot for the UFO witnessed over Socialburg that November evening. Number 1, the orange lights of 2011. Although the majority of them came in May, much of 2011 was subject to sightings of strange orange lights throughout all of South Africa. One report from Tierport, for example, would speak of 20 orange lights speeding through the sky above. Another resident of Tierport, Charlotte Grubb, claimed she saw a group of around 7 orange lights passing overhead. A Krugersdorp resident, Bernadette Opperman, would report a single orange light flying over the city in the evening of May 21st. Several reports from the Warrenton region would speak of orange lights zipping through the sky and into what appeared to be a huge mothership. Explanations were offered that the orange lights were nothing more than meteor showers, of course. While UFO researchers accepted that this very well may account for a good portion of the sightings, other reports that detailed strange movements were not at all in line with how meteors or comets behave. The wave of sightings is still collectively unexplained. I, too, have seen an orange light twice in my life, actually. All right, the green lights of Cape Town. In November 2015, bizarre sightings of green lights piercing the skies over Cape Town set social media alight, with many residents capturing their sightings on film, either with a picture or video footage. The South African Astronomical Observatory rather ambiguously offered that the anomaly was a test for light show equipment at the sports stadium in Cape Town. However, when asked for comment on the assertion, stadium officials stated they were unaware of any light equipment tests. And then, just as ambiguously as the observatory, they offered that the lights were probably some sort of marketing campaign, but that they didn't know anything about it. So the observatory
is just... with a cover story, you really need to, everybody needs to come up with the same cover story.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perhaps understandably, given the wishy-washy nature of those responses, witnesses and those with an interest in such things took the internet to discuss their sightings. As well as those over Cape Town, other sightings of the same green lights were reported in Johannesburg and Durban. While some users suggest that the green lights were portals to other dimensions, as they usually are, yeah. One user stated, "Please let it be aliens, but nice aliens."
I'm glad they clarified, because...
Yeah, I mean, we don't want, aliens from, the Aliens movies. That would be bad.
That would be
we
very
want
bad.
aliens from, Star Trek and...
Yeah.
Or the Orville, where they have a sense of humor.
Yeah, there you go. That'll work, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, that actually filled up our time pretty well.
Yep.
Let's see here. Where was it? There, I was looking at some other stories, like true stories. They're just strange, like just very, very odd. Mm-hmm. Like this one. Okay, I'm just going to list a couple of these that I found really fascinating. This list is top 15 bizarre true stories. We don't have enough time to go through all 15, but this one is really interesting to me. It's number 7. Helpful voices. While on holiday, a woman referred to by the British Medical Journal in 1987 as AB heard 2 voices in her head telling her to return home immediately. Back in London, the voices gave her an address that turned out to be a hospital's brain scan department. The voices told her to ask for a scan as she had a brain tumor and her brainstem was inflamed. Though she had no symptoms, a scan was eventually arranged, and she did indeed have a tumor. After an operation, AB heard the voices again say, and I quote, "We are pleased to have helped you," they said. "Goodbye." AB made a full recovery.
It's one crazy woman.
I will.
Oh, I mean,
things like this. It's actually kind of interesting because there's a very high chance that this person is not religious. Because I feel like if this happened to a religious person, it would be like divine intervention. They would have just been
like, God told me to go get a brain
Exactly.
scan.
And it's kind of interesting that like that kind of belief really can have different effects on these, and also raises the question of how many more of these things have happened that we haven't heard about because people believe it was some sort of
it
like
was
religious phenomenon.
God talking to them.
Yeah.
Or Space chicken.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
Space chicken.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
As you do.
I think it's interesting because they were so specific. They gave her the address.
That is very interesting because that's not one, like if you like somehow knew yourself from like subconsciously you felt pressure, so who freaking knows, but like a direct address that you've never been to before and it just happens to be exactly the scan, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I was not aware that different departments had different addresses. I kind of thought the whole building had an address, but I guess that's not the case.
This one I also found very interesting. This is more of a natural phenomena that has not been explained. La Mancha Negro, a hazard unique to Venezuelan highways, is a slippery goo called La Mancha Negra, the black stain. Although it is more of a sludge with the consistency of chewing gum, although the government has spent millions of dollars... Oh my goodness!
Is it hailing where you are, Andy?
No, that was dogs. That was dogs' claws on the floor above.
Oh, okay. Oh. That sounded really creepy for a second.
It's blowing away. What's going on?
Yeah, go back upstairs, baby. Love you. Okay.
Love you too, man.
Although the government has spent millions of dollars in research, no one knows what the goo is and where it comes from, or how to get rid of it. It first appeared in 1987 on the road from Caracas to the airport, covering 50 yards, and spread inexorably every year. By 1992, it was a major road hazard all around the capital, and it was claimed 1,800 motorists had died after losing control. The problem remains to this day.
Oh, interesting. I want to look up what this looks like. I'm surprised that they didn't put it in
just
there.
A very strange goo on the roads that nobody can explain. Nobody knows where it's coming from, and they can't get rid of it.
Also, they spelt it wrong. It's Negra, not Negro.
Well, in the title, they spelled it wrong.
Yeah.
And in the actual article, it was,
Gotta love that spell check.
Yeah, that's weird.
For the record, though, I feel like you have to go into what's number 1 on this because the title itself, I didn't read the whole thing, but the title is kind of hilarious, and I want to hear what it says.
On number 1?
Yeah, on the list. Look at what it is.
Boy turns into a yam. Dan, do you want to read that one for us?
Sure.
You seem very fascinated by it.
I mean, it's just such a, on the thing of bizarre true stories, a boy turns into a yam. All right, so 3 pupils at the Evangelist Primary School in the northern Nigerian town of Maiduguri Maiduguri, rushed into the headmistress's office in March 2000 and said that a fellow pupil had been transformed into a yam after accepting a sweet from a stranger. The headmistress found the root tuber and took it to the police station for safekeeping. Following local radio reports, hundreds of people flocked to see the yam, and police were hunting for the sweet giver. What happened next failed to reach the media. That is just so... a yam? What?
Well, let's go back real quick. So 3 pupils, right?
Okay.
From the school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rushed to the headmistress office in March 2000 and
Right.
told her that a fellow pupil had been transformed into a yam. Okay, so that means that the headmistress would have had to know who the pupil was,
Yes.
Right.
right? This
Yep.
pupil would have had family. Why
Yep.
did nobody else come forward and been like, yeah, this my son was turned into, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you back that
Nobody
story up?
else
Does the
knows.
kid not come back to school?
That honestly,
It was
that
just-
sounds more like a kidnapping that some kids believed he turned into a yam. Because sweets from a stranger.
These kids were dumb as hell.
This is actually the biggest prank of all time.
It's like, oh, they turned Gary into a
man.
yam. And then the next day we see Gary and he's like, well, I got better.
She turned me into a newt.
man.
Into a newt. I got better.
Oh, goodness. I can't find a picture of that yam, but then again, I don't know because it's a yam and it's not very
Right.
much
I
of...
was going to say, how do you
Oh,
know?
that one's
Maybe
got
all
glasses.
yams are actually children.
I think so.
I like
about
it.
I do find this one. So I'm going to read one more. This one, number 4, is Note Case from the Sky. I like this one just because it's lighthearted and just
Okay.
honestly just a mystery. In October 1975, everything happens in the 70s, apparently.
Yeah.
true.
Mrs. Lynn Connolly was hanging washing in her garden in the Quadrant Hall when she felt a sharp tap on the top of her head. It was caused by a small silver note case, 63 millimeters by 36.5 millimeters, hinged, containing a used notepad with 13 sheets left. It was marked with the initials SEC8TB, or JB, and Klaipėda, a Lithuanian seaport. No one claimed it at the police station, so it was returned to Mrs. Connolly. It seems likely it fell only a short distance, but from where? If it had dropped from a plane, it would have given her more than a tap.
Yeah.
Just sounds like somebody smacked her in the head with it.
I'm just picturing...
Why would you go claim it? Like, I really hope she brings it to the local police station so I can get it back after I threw it at her head.
Right.
A notepad, yeah.
Yeah, like,
This sounds like it could have
man.
been like bullies like throwing back and forth like some kid's
Right.
notepad and then one just throws it too far.
this sounds like a slow news day in Quadrant Hall, is what it sounds like.
That is also very, very possible.
Okay, this terrifies me as a father, but I think this is a really fascinating story. Number 10, I promise this is my last one.
All
You
right.
said that 2 ones ago.
I know. Whirlwind Children. A 9-year-old Chinese girl was playing in Songjiang near Shanghai in July 1992 when she was carried off by a whirlwind and deposited unhurt in a treetop almost 2 miles away. According to a Wire report from May 1986, a freak wind lifted up 13 children in the oasis of Hami in western China and deposited them unharmed in sand dunes and scrub 12 miles away.
Sounds like these children need a cheeseburger. Stop letting the light breeze take them away.
Or this is going to be the next thing to hit the United States.
Yeah,
From
whirlwind
China.
is
All right, careful,
stealing
guys.
children.
We don't have to worry too much about the murder hornets anymore, but careful of those kidnapping whirlwinds.
Seriously.
Unfortunately, we do have all the pissed off wind who keeps taking our children.
But they're not harming them. That's what's really
Yeah.
weird. They're just landing gently and safely. Like
But,
12 miles
Imagine that
away.
though, you like land and you're like, you know what? Honestly, that wasn't that bad. I mean,
That's not bad.
At least it wasn't
Yeah.
the yam candy.
that's
But I can't
true,
even
yeah.
imagine watching my child just get lifted up, just like carried away.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And then she's like, "Bye, Daddy. I must go home," and then disappears into the clouds.
My people need me.
My people need me. She would say something like that. Oh, man.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, those were our alien stories, because apparently tabloids are nonsense. Although if you go to Weekly World News, you'll see the first headline is Bigfoot missing. And then this is my favorite.
Because before we knew where he was, for the record.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, so you got to assume he's missing.
And this is another one of my favorites. Atlantis resurfaces, reconsiders, resubmerges.
That's a good one. Okay. No, they got murder hornets now. I'm leaving.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. I love that. So,
Resurfaces. Decides that was a bad idea. Resubmerges.
Why did we choose 2020 to come back up? I don't understand.
Oh, gosh.
Man. Any last thoughts, ideas, concepts, anything on these lists?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I mean, a lot of people took drugs in the 70s, so that could explain some of it. But at the same time, I like that a lot of these were corroborated by multiple parties.
That is true, yeah.
Yes.
But this is also back in the 70s when, I mean, if it was like drone technology being tested and things like that, people wouldn't have really known about it,
Right.
Not saying that's not what it was, or that's what it was, but I'm just saying there, back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we'll close this up and then we'll do our post show. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Mystery Cast right here on Tales of Earth. If you want to find Dan,
they can find me at Dan T Producer on Twitter and Instagram. And I have returned to Cyloo91, CYLOO91 on Twitch.
Awesome. Andy?
You can find me at For I Am the Andy, which is over there on Instagram. And that's
Sweet. You can find me on Twitter at Film Circuit and YouTube at Film Circuit and Instagram at Northward Films. Yes, thank you so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and share and like and all that good stuff. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.